Welcome to this episode of the Elite Question Askers. Me llamo Jayson.
That's not a line. Come on, man.
I am Mo Williams.
I am Dietrich Taylor. You need to do something with yourself.
Hey, man, I feel like the people who listen to us, we give them a phenomenal balance of entertainment and education and a glimpse inside the world of us three. So, edutainment. People listen to us for different reasons, man. So, here we are. Ignite question. That's not right. Fist bump moments first. What you got? I refuse to go first because clearly I'm delusional. So, what we got?
You just being silly, and there's nothing wrong with that, man.
Delusion.
Nothing wrong with that.
See what your friend said? Your friend wanted me to stay in the space of delusion. So come on. DT, go first. How about that?
First. Yeah. Come on, baby.
What's really happening right now?
Seriously, you guys are seriously on the silly train here. I don't know what's going on with y'all. My fist bump moment would be that's me. Sorry, I don't know. I can't help that. Sorry, it used to work, but now I don't. So we're gonna figure it out. My fist bump moment, man, shucks. My fist bump moment is getting to connect with you guys on our regularly scheduled time. That is a fist bump moment, quite frankly, because we've been here, there, everywhere, and partially my fault. I apologize for that, but being able to have some conversation with y'all is just something I look forward to. So, pound that, player.
Pause.
Yeah, that's
God. God. What is Whoa! This man took his camera off.
Yeah, we gotta have to call a timeout for that one. We gotta have a TV timeout for that player. That's all.
Oh, that was instant sweat. You got me sweating like Patrick Ewing, bro. God,
Whoa. That's all wrong. Sorry, man.
My gracious. My goodness. Come on, man. Come on. Yep, that will not get edited out too. Welcome. This is well, and just so we know, there are B-roll deleted scenes from when we actually press record that are in the archives that one will not make. This one, that was going to be in the episode, but there's more footage of times like that. Stay tuned. We'll drop that. But everything before you said what you just said, fist bump moment to that, man. It is good to be back on our schedule. I know that helps our editor as well. So yeah.
And on that, man, you can't tell that man that it can be on here. You have to ask for his consent.
Oh no.
If you don't feel that that's comfortable, I mean,
consent has already been signed when he agreed to be a co-host on this episode. On this podcast.
Can we move on?
Nope. Fist bump moment for me is I mentioned last episode about my experience in St. Louis last week. And I'm going back. So I'm excited to be in this space. I was actually requested to go back. So I wasn't scheduled to go back while I was there, but in the 3 or 4 days that I was there last week, basically the client went back and was like, we want Jayson. So opportunity to be able to go back. And it's really cool. I didn't mention that. I know last episode we talked about leadership, but this is it's an interesting space because it's with a grocery store. And so you're talking about leaders like within the store, maybe store manager, assistant store manager, department manager. Like, so you had these people who are kind of leaders by title, but not necessarily by skill set. So it kind of plays into our last episode about leadership as well. You know, like not that we need to talk about it, but almost in that place, how do you handle you being elevated? But do you have the skill set to necessarily be elevated? Like that can be another potential challenge. But anyway, fist bump moment is having the opportunity to go back tomorrow as we record, and I'll actually go back next week as well. So I'm excited about that opportunity to be able to continue to impact and influence and inspire people.
For me, man, fist bump moment.
All right, man.
Bump is man, like I've just really been, you know how like as a coach you tell your players like the off season you got to get better. Like I've just really been, you know, just in my bag, like figuratively speaking, on like what things can I continue to grow on and get better. And I'm just really enjoying this journey of clarity, like continuing to make things even more clearing fog for guys in our program, for my staff, for me. And you know, my real, you know, first jump in that area is just obviously getting done with the recruiting aspect, but you know, just more so like I want guys every year when they're in our program to not feel like we're doing a whole bunch of new stuff, but I want them to be like, man, I've just heard that in so many different ways. It's so clear. And Jay, you have more experience than both of us going to different countries. You know, when you're in a different country, if you don't speak that language, you're going to naturally slow down. Where like in our program, like I want our guys to move with an urgency, with the pace, with a fluid motion, because they're able to speak the language of what's required in that space. So just really continuing to try to grow my knowledge, grow our language. I tell people when they ask, like I try to coach in poetry, you know, whether it's a rhyme, whether it's a, you know, something that connects our players or something that they listen to, and just continuing to just clear that fog, man, and help them be better players, help them be better men, help them be better people. So just really enjoyed that. And then the second one is, Jay, just, I told you this morning, like really changing my perspective of when adversity happens in my life as an opportunity to practice. And good practices, like the really good ones, are usually, they're not when good things happen the whole time, but I was an opportunity where you were pushed or stretched. And because you had the tools necessary in that toolbox to use for that situation, you were able to become successful, you know, or it was one of those practices where it was a little tough for you, but you found a way to fight through. So those are my fist bump moments, man. Just continuing to be challenged, but you know, as I'm challenged, using those right tools, and then, you know, just continue to try to grow every day as a coach, as a teacher.
Major shout out for that. That was a heck of a visual, being in other people's countries and moving slower because you don't understand the language. That was powerful.
Like, because I think about this, like, I mean, obviously, if you're in a different country, you identify McDonald's with the arches, but I'm sure there are like restaurants where it doesn't matter where you are, you might not be able to identify it. So you're going to slow down and not know what's in there, where if you speak that language, you're going to know immediately, yeah, that's for me, or nah, I'm not really interested in that today. And that's kind of what I want our team, our environment to look like. If you speak this language, it's going to be really easy for you to play here. It's going to be really easy for you to understand. If you don't, you got to really understand it. You got to learn it. You got to take the time and speak that language.
Ignite question. Athletically or non-athletically, have you ever been in a situation where, and I'm going to use this word specifically because it plays out, and then this is an alley-oop question, you can answer it and change the verbiage if you like. Have you ever been in a situation where you quit? You I don't want to say gave up, but yeah, let's quit. If you just decide to change the verbiage or adjust it based on your story, have at it. But athletically or non-athletically, have you ever been in a position where you quit?
I'm sure. I'm sure it's happened, but I just don't recall it.
I think that poses a whole different question. Did you like delete it from your memory, like, or what's your definition of quit? Like, is it you quit the team? You like what that look like, or you really don't know?
No, my definition would be like you not doing it anymore in the season.
Okay.
Like if you, in my opinion, if you finish out the season and you don't go back to that sport, I wouldn't necessarily call that quitting.
Okay. Cool. Fair.
Like in the middle of the season or at the beginning of the season, things aren't going your way or whatever the case may be. But it's crazy. I don't remember that happening from an athletic standpoint. So I would have to go into another realm to try to figure out if I can answer that question.
Interesting. I'm gonna pause you there. Not related to that first one, but because I want to come back to that. Like I want to hear what's on your mind when you say from a non-athletic space. So we'll come back to that. Mo, what you got? Anything?
Yeah, I quit. I quit being in the band when I was in like the 9th grade. Or maybe it was the 10th grade. No, it was the 9th grade. It was something like 5th grade or 6th grade I was like interested in. And then as I got older, it was like, no. And then once I got to high school, that it kind of turned into, all right, band classes going on. I'm about to go down to the gym and go shoot. And the coach was, the teacher was real cool. Like I remember one day he caught me and was like, look, man, you don't have any interest in this, but I have the opportunity, or I hold your grade in my hand. So here, this is what we're going to do. You need to show up for this. You need to do this. But obviously I know, and I think we're both aware that this is not for you anymore. Because our band was serious. I mean, they would go down and play in the that Macy's Day Parade and stuff, and I didn't want to do that stuff. I wasn't interested in that. So, yeah, I quit.
What instrument was it?
I played several, man. But at that time, it was the saxophone. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. And this was in the middle of, I guess, the season. This was.
No, I think it was like before. So I was in band, but like they had like a band class too.
Understood.
Yeah, so like it was the class that I was like, I would come sometimes and then I'd go down there and go go put up some jumpers or whatever. And one day I think he found out I was down there. We had that little talk.
So ditching class.
I quit the football team, Muni League football. I think I was in the 8th grade. I was a wide receiver. So I'm actually pretty athletic. Like I can catch a football, throw a football, hit a baseball, all of that. So I would go out for football. You guys remember Mark Clayton and Mark Duper? They were the wide receivers for the Dolphins when Marino was the quarterback. The Marks brothers, they used to call them. I think it was Clayton. I saw it. They were my favorite guys. And I think it was Clayton. I saw an interview when I was little and he said, like, you play this game long enough, you're going to get hit. Like you play basketball long enough, you're going to get dunked on. Like you play with somebody that can play. And I remember he's like, but when you get hit, you got to pop back up. You can't let that defender know he got you. And I remember I was wide receiver and I ran a little post pattern and I caught the ball and boom, gone. And in that moment, Mark Clayton was running through my mind. Get up, pop up. Don't let him know he hit you. Don't let him know he got you. So I jumped up. I caught the ball, held on. Immediately did not go to the huddle. This is a real story. Did not go to the huddle. I walked straight to the sideline. And then I'm about to really paint the scene for you because there's more to it than this. I walk, obviously you got the sideline and coaches and all that. I walk through them. And most football fields have the track on the outside. I walked across the track, the little fence. I'm really painting the picture right here. The little fence that separates the track from the bleachers, jumped over that, went up in the stand, sat next to my mama, got my equipment on it. I didn't unstrap my chin strap. I ain't do nothing. I sat next to my mama in full uniform after that catch. And I see y'all in November, man. This ain't my sport. I'm not about to I'm about to let you just hit my body on purpose. No, I'm only playing because my friends are playing anyway. So,
but you didn't tell anybody, like
nobody. And the wild part about it, Mo, is no one said anything to me either. Wow. No one, and I'm sure looking back, look at 2022, I was definitely concussed as well.
Coaches didn't even say nothing. They didn't try to nothing.
Nothing. Not that I remember. I don't know whether that was part of the concussion or not, but not that I remember. There was no I don't even remember nobody really turning around like, damn, where the hell is he going? None of that. No, man. I think everybody knew. Everybody understood. This ain't it. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
I'm laughing at the visual, I can see.
Yeah, it's real. Whatever you envisioning, yes, that was it. That was it.
With your chin strap on.
All that.
Ooh, my stomach hurt. Man.
I was already mad because I was in the 8th grade and I felt like our captain might be in the 7th grade or something. And I was already mad because this little dude was telling me to do push-ups and up downs and all that. So that was a straw. Yeah. Anyway, glad I can be of entertainment. Say it again.
Did you have your mouth?
Here you go. I don't remember that being a part of the story, but I will tell you this. Probably yes. And I'm going to tell you the kind of mouthpiece I had. Remember Eric Dickerson used to have a big mouthpiece? I definitely had one of those. Yeah. So, yeah, probably. Yeah. That's my football story. Probably.
Woo.
So
man, that's some serious business right there, brother.
Glad I could be entertaining to you.
Oh man.
So I don't even want to follow up on that. Go ahead. Have at it.
No, I was gonna just say I ain't got to do no abs or nothing because my stomach is tight.
So with that being said, we were raised with the phrase of some sort. Winners never quit and quitters never win. Something along them lines. Do you believe in that statement?
No.
Interesting.
You said no, Mo?
Yeah, I would say no.
Tell me more.
You're gonna have to. Yeah.
I don't think all quitting is equal.
Interesting.
I don't think all quitting is equal. To me, I see two different categories of it. I'm quitting because I'm not getting what I want, which I always say, okay, cool. At least when that's happened in my experience of being a leader, mentally, I say, cool, whatever you're running away from, unless you change, the next place you go, you're going to deal with the same thing because it's you. Until you have a thumb mentality first, it's always going to be somebody else. But I would say the second one, which is why I say there's nothing wrong with it, is just understanding that it doesn't serve you and that you don't enjoy it. It doesn't bring you any value. Like why stay in something that brings you no value? And again, in the athletic space, or at least me being a head coach, if a guy quits not because I'm not getting what I want, but because I don't have joy, I'm not having fun, or these core values or principles don't align with me, I don't see anything wrong with that. I honestly feel that's kind of a self-awareness thing, which is what we applaud on here. I don't see how that's any different. Self-awareness is also, I need to remove myself because this isn't bringing me joy. But that's just my opinion. I think there's two different categories of it.
D?
Yeah, I was just going to, that's an interesting perspective in terms of like probably the way that I was raised in a lot of the thinking that I do, even though you are aware of all of those things. I just think there's something to finishing. And I think that has to do with the way that I was probably raised and a lot of the perspective that I have now. And I wouldn't even necessarily judge someone now if they quit based on what you just said, like the definition. I completely understand, and there's just so many forms of things that can cause you or constitute you to quit, like mental anguish or mental distress towards this thing, or anxiety towards that thing. I don't need to go in that arena. I don't need to, that's a trigger for me. So I need to go. I understand that, but I've just if minus those things, I've just been taught, I guess, in maybe a message that I would share with my daughters is like, if you start something, finish it. And if you don't want to restart it again, completely understand. But I think there's just power and growth in finishing something that you might not like, or you don't appreciate it, or you don't feel the same as before you started. So I would probably share that perspective. That's probably a little bit different.
So you see moles, especially, and that's kind of where I was going to. So you see and grasp where this no longer serves me, but that's not necessarily how you were raised as well.
To me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. I was raised, as you know, yeah. And there was just amount of pressure from your peers also that wouldn't let you away. Like you just like you said, you played football because of your friends. You didn't necessarily play because you liked it. You played it because of the peer pressure that came with it, good and bad. And again, I'm not saying one way is right or wrong. That's just the way that I was raised.
So D, you put a question into the chat. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put that in the chat because as Mo was talking, I was just like thinking about the different forms of quitting. Could transferring be a form of quitting based on what Mo was saying, as he was saying, and I put it in the chat because I didn't want to forget, because we are, especially as Mo and I are in that space, and that's what we deal with. Is that a form, or can that be a form of quitting?
Well, you done opened up a whole can of worms right here with this whole transfer thing and the portal and 15,000 people in it. If you don't mind, Mo, I'm gonna go first just because since I'm not directly in the space, I'll share my thoughts. I feel like it's still levels to it, as Mo said. D. Like, I do feel like there are those situations where this isn't a great fit, athlete and coach. So yes, it's best for us to part ways and transfer. And I know you have another word, you that selfish word, and not necessarily in a negative sense, but I know oftentimes that's the word that you may associate with it. But I do feel like if I'm tapping into that definition that Mo spoke about of, man, this ain't working out for me, this is a little bit more difficult than I expected. Oh man, y'all recruited somebody at my position. I'm just gonna leave, like all of that. I would feel comfortable putting that into the quitting category. I'm just not why. Even before we get to that standpoint, like I know people who have redirected their recruiting process because, we're recruiting another point guard. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go somewhere else. That's how you handle that? Right? Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, I think that's where I would be with that specific. Like I think there's levels to it, and there are definitely situations where young people, men and women, are leaving because it's the easy thing to do. Mo Will?
I don't have anything to add, man. I mean, you pretty much said everything I was going to say. And I mean, as far as the transferring thing, like, again, I just think there's different things. Like, I think there's cases, just different cases. Like you have your kids where a new coach comes in, I'm going to leave because, or a conversation might have been had where, like, I'm not a part of that vision. Like, I'm just not a part of that. I'm sure, D, I know you've been a part of something like that, but it made me think about when I took over a job and was a part of a staff. Like, I mean, those guys, they were leaving because it was like, all right, this dude's coming in. They want this, and this. And the staff before, we didn't do none of that. So I don't see how they will keep me around anyways. I'm going to just put my name in there. Like, I don't view that as quitting. Like, I view that as like, okay, I don't fit what they're trying to do. And the reality was he was going to get rid of them anyways. But yeah, I think there's just a lot of cases and I think there's a difference in I'm not getting what I want, so I'm leaving. And that's where I would define quitting. Is I'm hitting a level of adversity where I'm not getting what I want. And I don't want to fight. I don't want to own my mistakes. I think there's power in owning, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm not doing something. I need to get better. Opposed to, like I'm just being really aware of, what coach is saying to me, what coach's conversations are, where I am. Again, I don't want anybody to be around our program or around me just because, well, I don't believe in quitting. Like, if you're not happy, like, and our core value is joy, I mean, how contradictory is that? Because we don't quit, so I got to stay in there. Like, if you're not enjoying it, why stay in it? Because you've been told to hold on. Well, I mean, I hope during that whole time of holding on in misery, maybe you'll learn something differently in November than you did in October. I don't know. I just approached that differently, where I related to what you said, DT. It was whatever. If you started, you got to finish it. If you started, you got to finish it. Like, regardless, you got to finish it. I don't think that's necessarily the right way in all scenarios.
There's this phenomenal book that this young man wrote. It's called The Things We Know But Do Not Do. It's by this young man named Jayson Wells. There's a chapter in this book called I Quit. I'm just reading directly. This is page 38. So when is quitting a good thing? There are lots of reasons to quit. Quit the job you hate. Quit the relationship that isn't serving you. Quit the friendships that are draining. Quit the tasks that are sucking the soul out of you. Quit the habit that is wreaking havoc on your health. How you feel about those things? Are those still considered quitting? Let's go. I'm going to get even more specific before you answer. Double question.
Can we just talk about how you just dapped yourself up, though, during that little segment there?
Oh, shout out to owning the book. Yes, sir. Yeah.
And it's got some wares in it, too.
Yeah, right there, page 38.
Yeah. You spilled water on it, bro?
Yeah, I think that might have been a little accidental situation. It was a casualty of some situations that was happening around it. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely some watermarks at the top of that thing. Couple warped pages. So it's all good. That just shows you carry it with you. It's right up there with above the line. From a relationship standpoint, I'm divorced. Some people would say that I quit on my relationship. I would tell them two thumbs up. No, really, no, because I share the same as you with both you guys know how intentional I am with words and, cool, if this is going to be the space, I've identified what quit is. And I do feel like there's a major difference because quitting because adversity is taking over and quitting because this no longer serves me. And I challenge even using that word in the second sense, but let's just stay with it. I'm no longer doing this because this doesn't serve me anymore. That's what I don't refer to as quitting. And that's where I was in my marriage. Now, flip side to that, is it selfish to say that this is no longer serving me in a marriage?
I don't think so. Because if it's no longer serving you, then you're not going to show up in what I would say is a healthy space for the relationship in general and for the other person. The way you show up, because it's no longer serving you, that's to me, you're doing a disservice to the relationship, and you're doing a disservice, in my opinion, to the other person, because you are not who you were, because you're not driven by what you were driven by initially, and even more so, clearly I'm a disciple of you, because I agree with you 1,000% in terms of the terminology, like the terminology used that you just read. I wouldn't necessarily equate that as quitting. I would equate that as what Mo said in terms of I'm self-aware that this job is not serving a purpose. So I need to find another situation so that I can grow, or I can develop, I can be what I want to be, or who I think I am. I'm not necessarily quitting a habit. That habit is not serving what I'm trying to do here. It's not in alignment with what I would consider what I want to get done. Yeah. So I would even challenge the word quitting in that vernacular versus, in an athletic space. But now I'm talking in circles, because I think there's different forms, like you said, Mo, there's different forms of quitting. Like if you quit because another reason other than selfishness, you're not getting what you want, or it's not, they're recruiting somebody over me, whatever the case may be. There's just different forms, in my opinion. And I'm thankful, I'm glad it's not a right and a wrong in this deal. Man. I'm talking to myself all over the spectrum.
Well, what you got?
Can you go back to what you said? You said this is no longer serving you. Is that what you said?
It is.
And you said that like relative towards like a relationship.
Yeah, in that situation, yes. So, I mean, it was across the board, but I guess the follow-up question to that would be, would that be considered selfish if I'm talking about in reference to a relationship? To say, like, if I'm leaving a job because I'm not growing, it's not serving me, okay, cool, you leave a job. But if I say I'm leaving a relationship because it's no longer serving me, is that selfish?
I get what you're saying. I think there's differences. I think there's levels in relationships. There's a difference between you dating somebody and you being married with somebody. And I think in regards to just my opinion, it's serving you. I don't think marriage is supposed to serve you. I think marriage is the ultimate giving. It's the ultimate sacrifice of self. I think where you move away from that space is when neither of you want to continue to seek growth needed to foster that relationship. That's when a change needs to happen. But as far as like it serving you, I don't feel that's not what marriage was created for. I think that's, there's going to be seasons within that relationship where it's not going to serve you. There's going to be seasons in that relationship where it will. Like a really good friend of mine just got married a few weeks ago, and he's like, man, this is great, man. And I could easily just be like, yeah, man, wait about 3 years or something. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I refuse to let that, like, you guys know I'm big into comedy. Like, when the comedians get up there and say all the single ladies, make some noise, and it's all right, all the single men make the noise, all the married men make some noise. They always like, oh, it's a little quieter in here.
Yeah.
I guess I'm that crazy dude that just believes it doesn't have to be that. Like, it doesn't have to be that. We get what we work for. So as long as you continue to work towards that covenant of that marriage, it can continue to add value to you, not necessarily serve you, but add value to you, and you guys work in harmony. Like, the fact that I can come home to somebody and, yeah, I'm gonna say this, like, I don't gotta wash my drawers, or I don't have to cook my food. Like, I have, again, we're able to work in harmony together. That doesn't mean every single day we're like, I agree with her, but again, that harmony piece, that not necessarily it's serving me, but like, okay, what are the things that we hit conflict that we need to work on to get there? I think is the most important part in a relationship like that. So I think there's different relationships. But as far as, if you're asking me, is there ever a good point to leave in a marriage? I mean, that was my answer earlier, was, that's if both people mutually stop wanting to let that space grow.
Man, this
is my opinion.
But so here's my challenge. Does it have to be both people? Because if one person ain't showing up, it only take one person to say no, to not be dancing. And I don't know if it's a space for there to be both people just show up and say, I don't want to dance.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, you can be dancing, but like, there's a difference between dancing and like you actually giving effort for that dance to work in harmony. Like, if you just out there just, and I'm pulling you and I'm moving you, like, yeah, we not getting no better. We just out here. And that's also what I mean as well, too. It don't mean like we both just out there quitting, or one person's quitting. Like, using your reference, that's how I would answer that.
Okay. Hey, it's been a minute since I read this. It's kind of fire. Here's a paragraph. Quitting isn't the problem. Quitting is a very necessary part of life. Individuals make so many decisions in their lives, and those decisions are driven by one factor: not wanting to quit in order to save face. They don't want to be perceived as a failure. People have such a fear of failing that they steer clear of anything that looks or smells like failure. So we stay in unhealthy relationships because we want to fight through and make it work, because we don't want it to fail. We stay in toxic friendships because we don't want to cut it off. We want to figure it out, work it out, make it all work at all costs to our personal happiness and well-being. We suppress the stress, the pain, the tears, just to push through, all to avoid looking like a failure. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it goes back to the question we pondered maybe 3, 5, 7 episodes ago, in terms of, do you have to go through something to get somewhere? And yeah, from a relationship standpoint, obviously you don't marry. Some people do. Some people do. You marry the first person that you have or experience a relationship with. And then there's others of us like myself that have had, relationships that just didn't, it didn't work out. But I had to go through those things to get to where I'm at right now and what I think I would like or look for in a relationship. So yeah. I don't know.
That's tough, huh?
How about that?
Yeah, that's tough. Mo, you got anything?
Yeah, I think there's just a difference. Like, we use this, like, failing is not a bad thing. Like, it's necessary. Failing is learning. Like, we embrace failing. Like, I think I do a good job in a practice if we failed. I think I shared earlier on this call, like, I view situations where I fail or opportunity where I could fail in a situation as practice. As far as, like, I don't really fear failure. I'm more afraid of if I didn't go after it. And now I have to live with my own regret or insecurity. But I think failing is quitting. Like failing is like, oh, I'm sorry, being a failure is quitting. So, like, I give up. I'm never going to try again. But I think failing is necessary. Failure is quitting. Message. So, I mean, that's how I view that, is like, we need it. We need it. It's necessary. You're learning. I thought we failed this year. But it's like, man, I don't think I've ever been this passionate, and I'm using this word, pissed off, before in the off season in my life. But I also know, like, self-awareness piece, like, I need to get away. Like, I need to take a trip. Like, or and when using DT's words, I'm gonna freaking tackle somebody. Like, I can't, that's kind of the blessing of my job. I can't be practicing with my team anytime soon because I wouldn't be in a good space. Because I'm that, not angry, but the competitiveness in me is like, I want to get back at it so bad. So, like, I need to, like, have this time away. Like, I need to get away from here. That's why I look forward to doing that soon. So, yeah, but I think that fail part is necessary.
One more scenario for us. Page 40. An athlete recently approached me to have a sincere, genuine conversation. Bottom line, he didn't want to pursue basketball at a competitive level anymore, but didn't know how to tell his dad because he feared his dad's reaction. This young man was so fearful of his dad's reaction that he chose to put stress, anguish, and anxiety on himself just to keep his dad happy. I told him what my big mama used to tell me: pray on it. You don't have the words to say, but God does. I continue. Your dad may be upset initially, but in the long run, he will respect you for being open and honest, and you will be in a much better place mentally and physically with that load off your chest. That's a real conversation. I remember that young man. Like, I don't even want to do this no more. But he kept doing it because he was scared of his dad's reaction. Like, that's real. So often we talk, and this is funny because I actually wrote this down in my own handwriting, like just me and my words and how I've grown from writing the book. Like I would even write now, persevere or pivot. Like, when do you know? When do you know? Like, that's an awareness piece. Do I know myself well enough to say, is this a period where I persevere through, put my head down, keep churning? Or is this an opportunity for me to pivot and do something different? That's an awareness piece. Think about what we say to people. Mo, you and I talked about this earlier in an unrelated situation. You got these parents, speaking of divorce and bring it back up. Let's just say you got these parents who hang in there and tough it out for the kids. And now the kids are old enough for us to say, okay, cool, now we can do this. But unconsciously, what have you taught your kids? To be unhappy for extended periods of time? Do we think that far? I know that might be Jay Wells thinking right there, but y'all both made faces, so I'm going to shut up. What's on your mind right there?
I'm gonna tell you what I thought when I heard you say it earlier. Like I just thought it was fire. I thought it was spot on. And the response to your question is no, I don't think they think about that. I don't. So yeah, I think that's fire.
I would agree from a standpoint of, again, it's happiness. What drives you? Your happiness or your perseverance? Are you persevering, thinking you're doing these things for your kids? When really, they can feel that. They see that. They know that. And oftentimes I would imagine, I don't know because I come from, my mom and dad are still together. So my circumstance or my perspective is a little bit different. But oftentimes I would imagine those kids in that situation that feel that will say, man, I am not going to do that.
Mm.
And so I just think there's all kinds of forms of learning and growth if you pay attention to it. If you pay attention to your circumstances, no matter what, they can teach you something. You know what I mean? Like you can say, oh, I'm the victim. My parents are always angry. They're not together, but whatever you can say, but you can also say, hey man, like, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to look like. I don't want to get up every morning and feel that. Sorry, Clemo. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to look like that. I don't want to, express that. But then, we watched, stop laughing. We watched Iana Van Zant earlier today, and she talked about, come on, say that quote. Come on. When she talked about, when she talked about,
there is no greater battle in life than the battle between the parts of you that want to be healed and the parts of you that are comfortable and content remaining broken.
And the word I'm saying is comfortable remaining broke. Well, heck, it was good enough for my parents. So why is it not good enough for me to remain in a space that I know the outcome? That's familiar to me. That's comfortable. So I'm going to stay over here. I find myself doing that in a different area of my world in terms of angry. I know what's going to happen when I'm angry. I'm going to cuss. I'm going to do all what angry people do. Not angry people do. I'm going to do what I do to define angry. That's comfortable. You know what I mean? Like that makes me feel some type of way, as opposed to maybe the unknown of, why don't you choose to be happy? Why don't you choose to say hello? Why don't you choose to look at things from a different perspective? And I know I've gotten way off tangent.
But have you though? But have you? I don't think you have.
I just think that the pursuit of happiness is so different now because of the options that we now have. And it is okay to say that I choose happiness over the alternative. Back in the day, our grandparents and our grandparents, they didn't have the options that we have now. They was together because, hey, I don't know no better. Or they was together because what else are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas now, relationships fail. People get divorced all the time. The divorce rate is extremely high. And I don't feel some type of way. I say, man, like, good for you. Like, you reckon you chose your happiness.
Just because I feel like I guess can take us into money moments as well. Specifically on that, bro. I don't know if I shared this with you, but there was a period of time, like, we were already not in a great space, and a few things happened to me in like a 3-week period, and it was kind of the writing on the wall. So I was 34, turning 35 when I got divorced or started in that process. And 3 things happened. Number one, I was playing in this like rec league, adult rec league, and the guy that organized our team, we played on Monday nights. I remember this. We played on Monday nights, and the guy that organized our team just on a Monday night just didn't show up. And that was very unlike him. And we got a text message Tuesday morning said they found him in his house dead. And he was in his early 40s. And not long after that, my cousin, they weren't together at the time, but her children's father found out he had really aggressive cancer and passed away in like 6 weeks. He was in his early 40s. And my best friend had just gotten to the point, his boys are now, they're 8 years older than my boys, but there's the same time span in between. There's 3 years in between. So at the time, I want to say his boys were maybe like, they were younger than my boys now, maybe 13 and 10, 12 and 9, something like that, because mine were 4 and 1. So yeah, so 12 and 9. And he told me that his boys were old enough to understand kind of what we just talked about. But in 8 years, if I wait till quote unquote, my boys are old enough, I'm going to be in my early 40s. And these two dudes that I know just died in their early 40s. So you want me to wait 8 years to my boys understand? And then I die in my early 40s? No, I'm good. I'm going to choose my happiness now and figure out what those 8 years look like going that route. And that was literally the choice, man. And you know, I talk about it even in here a little bit about the selfish piece, man. The danger of being fearful of quitting is you get stuck. You quit thinking about what's best for you, and you start thinking about being selfish. And self-love is not selfish. I didn't even realize I wrote that in this chapter, but that is a motto that I live by. We have such a negative connotation about selfish that as soon as we hear it, we think negative. But every plane you've ever been on told you to take care of yourself first if something happened. Everyone. Not once have you been on a plane that has said, hey, if some shit happened, put his mask on first.
You know, it's funny. They even do that with like if you're traveling with children.
Absolutely.
They tell you that parent, put yours on first and then put your children.
Because if you traveling with the girls, Mo, if you traveling with your daughter, if I'm traveling with the boys and I put their mask on and then I pass out, what good am I to them?
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm probably, oh man, like I have out of this conversation, a different connotation in terms of divorce, and I've never experienced it for myself and never been a part of what it looks like. So my perspective is extremely uneducated, emotional standpoint. But if I were to maybe pull from some of the conversations that we've had or listen to some of the conversations between like Oprah and Iyanla, I probably said her name wrong.
It's all good. It's an L in there, Iyanla. It's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Mama call her Rhonda. I'm gonna call her Rhonda. But I was, but the thing that I thought was interesting was this in terms of like during their conversation that they were speaking to each other, she referenced the God that we knew growing up is not necessarily the same God that we know now in terms of the, you know, what we knew then. Hey, if you do that, you're going to hell. You know, all of those things. And I don't know if divorce, you don't look at it the same way, because here's the thing, it's like love. Bro, like if my kid's mom is dating somebody else and he got kids, hey man, like y'all want to go on a date? Cool, leave the kids with me and we gonna do our thing, y'all gonna do your thing. To me, that's a form of love. I love you loving her. I love all of that. I'm me and your kid, we gonna do our thing. And it's all love. To me, again, that's a totally uneducated.
Is that a question?
Opinion.
It is.
No, that's how I think.
No, I'm talking.
And I don't know if that's
Mo had his hand up over there.
Oh,
it is. I don't even know if this might go over time. But based off of that scenario that you just shared, because I actually think that's a common scenario. I think that's something people don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to go in particular to your situation, but I'm saying like if something like that were to happen or you have a family layout like that, what does the boundaries look like? Because like, yeah, that's cool, but there has to be some type of like, all right, you're going too far if you don't say this or do this or make this aware to me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Could love establish those boundaries for you?
Nah, I think you gotta tell people straight up, man. This is what I'm cool with. This is what I'm not. That's why I'm just scared. Like I would think you have to establish some boundaries with that.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is like, yes, I agree with you. Like, yeah, you got to establish some boundaries in terms of what you're cool with, what you're not cool with, but also, you know how I am in terms of communication. Don't play mental gymnastics with me. Like, tell me what you cool with and what you ain't. Mean what you say and say what you mean. But also understand we're not necessarily talking about me and you. We're talking about your kids and their experience.
Us.
Yeah.
Remember the triangle. There's me and you, and then there's us.
Yeah. And to me, I'm 48 years old. I'm closer to digging my own grave than anything. But my kids and your kids, their life expectancy or their life is going to change the most. And I want to be a part of trying to be positive. Because as we know, there's so much negativity surrounding, you know, all the dynamics and all the differentiations in terms of the relationships and blah, blah, blah. Hey man, hey yo, let's love on each other, man. Let's love on each other. And again, I say this with tongue in cheek, maybe it's an uneducated perspective. I don't know if it's possible. But in my mind and in my heart, when they cut my head open and they asked me, how are you going to respond? The word I chose, or the word that was given to me, I didn't choose it. The word that was given to me was love. That's how I'm going to respond. That's how I want to respond. I don't always respond that way necessarily, but that's how I want to respond. Hey, I'm gonna shut up, Mike.
Mo, man, do you dare follow that up to bring us home, bro?
I think what we've done when we get on here, Jayson, what you created is continuing to normalize conversations that aren't had that need to be had. I mean, this is a conversation where you got a kid getting into a car, and my favorite question is how was practice today? You know, and the kid gives you fine or good, when in reality, man, I hated it, man. This is hard. I can't do this no more. I'm not enjoying it. But I ain't gonna say anything because you love me. I feel you love me because I'm doing this. So this is creating a conversation. It's educating. It's bringing light in a dark place that we got to have conversation with our kids and telling them whether you want to do rhythmic gymnastics or you want to be a tackle football player. Son, daughter, I love you. I don't care. Doesn't matter. You know, you have to establish what's important to you, what serves you, but also I think we've identified that quitting is not all the same thing. It's just not all the same thing. You know, and again, I think there is a huge difference in quitting because I'm not getting what I want, opposed to quitting because these are the things, this is the structure of how this is ran, and that's no longer bringing me joy. I think there's a difference. I think one is very individualistic, and I think the other one is more self-aware. And I think that's what we've identified.
There is another episode of the Elite Question Askers in the book. You guys are unbelievable human beings, and I appreciate having the opportunity to connect with you in this forum. BT, thank you for starting the call off with a phenomenal laugh. Mo, thank you for bringing us home with a great ending point. Until next time. I love y'all boys, man.
Love you too, man. Holla.
Hey.